Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 6.
Investigators say she resigned Friday, and today a former high school teacher pleaded guilty to an incident that happened 7 years ago.
I hit a deer and then I ended up in somebody's trailer.
But police say that wasn't the case, why a man ended up being arrested after this 911 call.
And we'll take you on a tour of a place in Lexington once called the City of the Dead. WKYT News at 6 starts now. Good evening. Tonight, a former Franklin County teacher has been charged for having an inappropriate relationship with a student years ago.
And investigators say the student's mother helped them crack the case. They say Carrie Williams has since stepped down from her job as a teacher at Franklin County High School. WKYT's Kristen Kennedy talked to investigators about the case. It's our top story at 6.
Assistant Commonwealth Attorney Zach Becker says in 2007, a 17-year-old Franklin County High School senior had an inappropriate relationship with former English teacher Carrie Staples Williams. After graduation, Becker says the senior confided in the superintendent at the time, Harry Bucher. Becker claims the case sat dormant and never reached law enforcement until the victim passed away and his mother found paper copies of emails between Williams and her son.
We're very sexually explicit in nature, referred to a physical sexual relationship.
Because of a one-year statute of limitations, Becker says he wasn't able to go after Bucher or the school district for failing to report the case. Monday afternoon, Williams pleaded guilty in front of the victim's mother to 2 counts of unlawful transaction with a minor.
She had seen her son denied justice for so many times, and she wanted to make sure that Miss Staples, now Williams, was finally brought to justice and held accountable for what she did.
In the agreement, Williams will serve 5 years supervised probation, agree to no further contact with students, and surrender her teacher's license.
She was very emotional, but she was definite in the fact that she did feel like finally her son was justified, and that Miss Staples Williams was held accountable for what she did.
In Franklin County, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
Williams will not be allowed to teach again until her supervised probation is complete.
A Lexington man accused of killing his brother with a truck says he's not guilty. William Watkins appeared in court today. Police charged him with reckless homicide and DUI. Saturday night, witnesses say he got into an argument with his brother Brian and later hit him with a truck. WKYT's Victor Puente talked to their mother after today's hearing.
Appearing by video for his arraignment, William Watkins stayed mostly silent during the hearing.
You're going to need a lawyer. Can you afford one?
William is charged with hitting his brother, Brian Watkins, with his truck Saturday night on Woodview Drive, killing him. Lexington police have charged him with DUI and reckless homicide. After his hearing, Watkins' mother said she's having a hard time dealing with the death of one son and the arrest of the other.
I know Billy didn't mean to do it, but Billy loved Brian very much. He loved his family.
Farrow says Brian called William and told him he was suicidal, prompting him to drive over. But other family members told WKYT Brian Watkins beat up his brother, then left the house on Woodview Drive. According to them, William Watkins then drove after his brother. Investigators tell us he crashed into him about halfway down the street. William's wife was also at the hearing. She echoed her mother-in-law's sentiments.
I know that William would not have intentionally hurt his brother. I know that. I know he loved him.
Williams' public defender entered a not guilty plea for him. He'll be back in court next week. In Lexington, Victor Puente, WKYT.
And during today's hearing, the judge left Watkins' bond at more than $25,000. The judge says Watkins is a danger to others.
Dispatchers say they knew something wasn't right as soon as they talked to a man. Tonight, a Laurel County man faces charges after a crash and some unusual 911 calls. The Laurel County Sheriff's Office arrested 27-year-old Zachary Morgan. Investigators say he was intoxicated and even made up a story about how his car ended up off the road. WKYT's Phil Pendleton has the 911 calls new at 6.
A woman called 911 Friday morning, telling the Laurel County dispatchers her son had just been in a terrible accident.
I don't know if his car's down in the ditch or if he's sitting in a... I can't understand him. He sounds like he's very intoxicated. I don't know. He said he's hurt. He's bleeding everywhere.
The dispatcher got the crash victim's number and called him.
I hit a deer, and then I ended up in somebody's trailer, and I tried to knock on their door. They're not answering.
Yet there was no talk of any serious injuries.
And are you injured? No, sir. My knees kind of hurt.
Police say Zachary Morgan never hit a deer and simply ran off the road while drunk and blew a tire. And he became impatient when officers didn't show up fast enough.
I've been sitting here for 3 hours, so it'd be not.
It'd been real easy for you to call. It'd been real easy for you to call 911.
Well, I done called 911 about 3 times, and you guys were still late.
Police say Morgan continued to mouth off while in the cruiser, telling the deputy, "This is the last time I'll ever go to jail." In Laurel County,
there's dogs out here, and they're kind of vicious.
Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Deputies charge Zachary Morgan with DUI, first offense. He has since been released from jail.
Sunshine and unseasonably warm temperatures make it feel a little like summer outside today, but some big changes are coming just in time for Halloween. Meteorologist Jim Caldwell has an early look at that forecast. Hey, Jim.
And Sam, we're going to have 2 different waves. We're going to have the first cool blast that'll get us into the 50s by midweek, and then another that rolls in here late in the week that'll bring 20s at night and 40s for highs. So a lot of change coming our way in 2 different waves. We'll look outside right now with some of our cams across Kentucky and look down toward Jackson, still holding on to the upper 70s there. Cloud cover, of course, filtering in. Georgetown, same scene there as well. The clouds starting to really push into our area. We'll see maybe a break from time to time with the cloud cover, and the gusty winds will also continue out there. So upper 70s showing up in many spots now. Defender is pretty quiet right now. Tomorrow, a different story. That's when we start tracking showers and even some thunderstorms. We're watching some of the moisture gathering to our north along a frontal boundary that will continue to sweep into Kentucky and spread all of that rain into our area and the cooler air behind it. The 24-hour planner is fine, though, because we're just taking you right into the beginning of all of this. By tomorrow, should be tracking a few showers past noon into the afternoon and evening hours as well from west to east across Kentucky. And then the big chill gets here, and I'll break it down and time it for you coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Jim. A Grammy award-winning singer joined Senator Mitch McConnell along the campaign trail today.
Lee Greenwood sang during stops in southern Kentucky today as part of Senator McConnell's Kentucky Leads America bus tour. In Laurel County, Senator McConnell told supporters that he thinks President Obama's administration is causing some small businesses to struggle.
And of course, a sea of aggressive regulators all across the American economy, descending on every legitimate business you can find, with the view that if you're making a profit, you must be up to no good. You know, you must be cheating your customers or mistreating your employees.
Senator McConnell says if the Senate becomes a Republican majority and he's named the leader, Kentucky's interests will be at the forefront. Former Senator and former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton will be coming back to Kentucky to campaign for Senate candidate McConnell Grimes. The two will appear together Saturday at events in Lexington and northern Kentucky. Hillary Clinton also campaigned for Grimes in Louisville earlier this month. Today, Grimes campaigned in Knox and Harlan counties.
30 years voting against the interest of the people of this state. His record speaks for itself. It's the reason I'm in this race. Kentuckians deserve better.
A week ago, the latest Bluegrass poll showed Senator McConnell with a 1-point lead over Grimes. The candidates in the 6th District congressional race will meet in Richmond for a debate tonight. Incumbent Congressman Andy Barr and challenger Elizabeth Jensen will debate at the EKU Center for the Arts. The debate begins at 7. You'll be able to watch it live on the CW Lexington and online at WKYT.com. WKYT's own Bill Bryant will be the moderator.
Halloween is just 4 days away, and for some people, ghosts and graveyards play a big role in that day. But did you know the Lexington Cemetery was once called the City of the Dead? WKYT's Miranda Combs took a walk through the cemetery with a man who's been tending to those graves there for decades.
It's peaceful here.
Mark Durbin knows every inch of this place. These paths he's been walking since he was 15.
We've had
check on a few of them.
It's just kind of a personal thing because I've been here so many years. It's kind of like home to me.
The monuments mark time.
These are permanent records for the cemetery.
And life
It's a representation of the heritage of Lexington is what this is.
There are 80,000 people buried here.
This was built literally by hand.
At one time, Durbin says, there were almost as many people buried here as living in Lexington.
Lexington was a small town.
A fact so known back in the 1800s, they named it.
So this was the city of the dead.
Fitting when you look.
This would be like the Victorian era. It looks similar to some of the old Victorian houses.
Streets divide sturdy monuments like buildings that cross groups of markers like neighborhoods.
Your monument has to meet certain size restrictions, just like real estate, lots are designed to accommodate certain size houses.
Durbin says during the cholera plague 2 centuries ago, local churches ran out of space for graves.
Families were always buried together.
So 25 Lexington residents put $500 each toward Boswell's Woods,
As they need additional burial spaces.
now known as the Lexington Cemetery.
Lexington has grown to us, around us, and out away from us. So we've ended up in the center of the city.
Now the City of the Dead is a city within a city. Monuments of marble
And this is just phenomenal. This is kind of classic of the era.
make way for newer granite.
And so today we highly recommend the use of granite because it does not deteriorate over time.
And much like a city where some buildings stand out and others weather over time,
I just always admired this because it's the little baby. Obviously the little baby died.
they all tell a story about life in the City of the Dead. And Durbin says you'll notice the older monuments are clustered together because families were always buried together. Now families are much more transient, so plots are typically sold in sets of 2.
Yeah. I think a lot of us, myself included, take for granted the information and how important it is on those monuments, the gravestones.
Right, if that cemetery were to lose their records, they'd have to go one by one and take the information off of those gravestones. That's how accurate that information has to be.
Certainly beautiful out there and always peaceful. Miranda, thank you. Thieves are causing a lot of damage along Kentucky's highways and interstates, and tonight police say they need your help to stop and catch some thieves. That's coming up at 6.
And point guard Andrew Harrison returns for his second season with a whole lot more experience than he had a year ago. We'll hear from him and talk some football here at Wildcat Central.